Maradona led Argentina to World Cup victory and became one of the greatest football players in history. But at one point, he was banned from football. In 1994, during the World Cup, he failed a drug test and was removed from the tournament. This shocked the world. At the same time, his life outside football was becoming more chaotic, with growing pressure, fame, and personal struggles. How could a player with such incredible talent lose control of his own career? What happens when talent is bigger than control? Today, you will learn English through the untold story of Diego Maradona. In 1986, Diego Maradona reached the highest point of his career. The World Cup in Mexico became the moment that changed everything. During this tournament, he did not just play well, he dominated the game in a way that few players ever have. In the quarterfinal against England, he scored 2 goals that the world would never forget. The first goal was later called the Hand of God. He used his hand to score, and the referee allowed it. It was controversial, and people still talk about it today. Just minutes later, he scored another goal, this time with pure skill. He dribbled past several players from his own half of the field and scored one of the greatest goals in football history. This goal is often called the goal of the century. In one match, Maradona showed 2 sides of himself. One was clever and controversial. The other was pure genius. After that tournament, Argentina won the World Cup, and Maradona became more than just a player. He became a national hero. People in Argentina saw him as a symbol of pride and strength. His success was not only about football. It was emotional and cultural. The whole world was watching him. Fans admired him. Media followed him everywhere. Every action became important. This was the peak of his career. But with this success came a hidden problem. The attention was too fast and too intense. Maradona was no longer just a person. He was treated like something bigger, almost untouchable. People did not see him as a normal human being. They saw him as a genius who could do anything. This created a dangerous situation. When someone is seen as perfect, there is no space for weakness. There is no space for mistakes. Expectations become higher and higher. Maradona had to carry this image everywhere. He was expected to perform at the same level all the time. He was expected to lead, to win, and to inspire. But no one can stay at the top forever. This is where the pressure begins. From the outside, everything looked perfect. He had talent, success, and global recognition. But inside, the situation was more complicated. Fame came too quickly. Admiration became expectation. Success became responsibility. At that moment, he was not just a player, he was untouchable. After the 1986 World Cup, Diego Maradona was no longer just a football player. To the public, he was a hero, a genius, and the savior of Argentina. People did not simply admire him, they believed in him. He was seen as someone who could change the result of a game at any moment. His name carried power, emotion, and national pride. This was his public image, and it was very strong. From the outside, everything looked perfect. He had talent. He had fame. He had global recognition. But this image did not show the full reality. Behind the success, the pressure was extremely high. Maradona was expected to perform at the same level all the time. Every match became important, and every performance was closely watched. When he played well, he was praised. But when he did not meet expectations, the criticism was immediate and intense. This kind of pressure is difficult for any person. But in Maradona's case, it became even more complex because of his life outside football. Over time, his personal life became less stable. He faced increasing challenges with discipline, lifestyle, and decision-making. There were also serious issues that were publicly documented. He struggled with drug use, which affected both his health and his career. This was not just a small problem. It became a major factor that influenced his performance and his life. At the same time, he was still expected to be the same player, the same hero. This created a strong internal conflict. On one side, there was the image of Maradona the genius. On the other side, there was the reality of Maradona the person. These two sides were not always aligned. His talent remained. but his ability to control his life became weaker. This is one of the most important parts of his story. Talent alone was not enough. Success gave him power, but it also removed balance. Fame increased his influence, but it also increased pressure and temptation. He was surrounded by attention, opportunities, and expectations. But not all of these helped him. Some made his situation more difficult. When a person becomes very famous, their environment changes. People treat them differently. Some support them, but others may not give honest advice. This can make it harder to make good decisions. For Maradona, this environment became unstable. There was less structure, less control, more chaos. Over time, this began to affect his performance. He still had moments of brilliance. He could still change a game with his skill. But the consistency was no longer the same. His physical condition, mental focus, and lifestyle were all affected. At the same time, the expectations did not decrease. People still expected greatness. They still expected the same Maradona from 1986. This created even more pressure. He was trying to meet expectations while dealing with internal challenges. This is a difficult situation. It is not only about football. It is about managing life. From the outside, people saw the highlights, the goals, and the moments of brilliance. They saw a player who looked unstoppable. But they did not see the full picture. They did not see the struggle to maintain control. They did not see the pressure behind the performance. They did not see the internal conflict between talent and discipline. This is why his story is so powerful. It shows that being a genius does not guarantee stability. It shows that success without control can create problems. It shows that fame can increase both opportunity and risk. Maradona's life at this stage was not only about football. It was about balancing two different realities: the image of a hero and the reality of a human being. From the outside, he looked like a god, but inside, he was losing control. The real problem was not his talent. It was how he handled it. By this point, Diego Maradona's ability on the field was still clear. He could still control the ball, create chances, and change a game in seconds. His talent did not disappear. But something else was missing: structure. In professional sports, structure is very important. Players need routine, discipline, and clear habits. They need to train regularly, take care of their body, and stay focused over long periods of time. This is what helps talent stay consistent. For Maradona, this structure became weaker over time. His lifestyle was not always stable. Training was not always consistent. Decisions were not always controlled. Without a strong structure, even great talent becomes difficult to manage. This created a gap between what he could do and what he actually did. The next issue was deeper. It was about identity. Maradona was not only known as a player. He became a global figure. People called him a genius, a hero, even a god of football. Over time, this image became very strong. But there is a risk in this situation. When a person is defined by one identity for too long, it can affect how they see themselves. Maradona was not just Diego anymore. He was Maradona. This difference may seem small, but it is important. When identity becomes connected to fame, it can create pressure. A person may feel that they must always live up to that image. They may feel that they cannot change or show weakness. This can lead to loss of control. Instead of making decisions based on what is healthy or necessary, decisions may be influenced by image, emotion, or external expectations. This is what we call an identity trap. He was living inside the role of Maradona, and it became difficult to separate that from his real self. The third issue was emotional escape. Fame brings attention, but it also brings stress. Expectations are high, and pressure does not stop. For many people, this can become difficult to manage. In these situations, some people look for ways to escape. They try to reduce stress in the short term, even if it creates long-term problems. For Maradona, this became part of his life. His choices outside football were not always helpful. Instead of reducing pressure, they often made his situation more complicated. This created a cycle. Pressure increased. He looked for escape. The situation became worse. Pressure increased again. Over time, this cycle became stronger. This is the real problem. It was not about lack of talent. It was not about lack of opportunity. It was about how everything was managed. Without structure, talent becomes unstable. Without clear identity, decisions become difficult. Without control, pressure becomes overwhelming. From the outside, people may see only the results. They may ask why a great player could not stay at the top. But the answer is deeper. It is not only about skill. It is about control, discipline, and understanding oneself. Maradona's story shows that success is not enough by itself. It needs direction. It needs balance. And without that balance, success can become something dangerous. Sometimes, success without control becomes self-destruction. By the early 1990s, the situation around Diego Maradona was no longer stable. The pressure, the lifestyle, and the lack of control had built up over time. What had once been small problems were now becoming serious issues. Then came the moment that changed everything. In 1994, during the World Cup, Maradona failed a drug test and was banned from the tournament. This was not just a football decision. It was a global shock. The player who had once been seen as unstoppable was suddenly removed from the biggest stage in the world. This was a crisis. It was not only about football. It was about reputation, identity, and reality. At the same time, his physical condition was also affected. Years of pressure, lifestyle choices, and lack of discipline had taken a toll on his health. His body was no longer as strong or stable as before. For the first time, the situation could not be controlled by talent. He could not solve it with skill. He could not escape it with performance. Everything had caught up with him. This is where realization begins. When a person reaches this point, there are fewer options. The old ways no longer work. The same choices lead to the same problems. Maradona had to face a difficult truth. He could not continue living in the same way. The system that once supported his success had now become a source of collapse. The identity, the lifestyle, and the habits that were once accepted were now causing damage. This moment is important because it forces awareness. Awareness does not come easily. It usually comes after pressure, after mistakes, and after consequences. For Maradona, this was that moment. He began to see the connection between his choices and the results in his life. The pressure was real. The talent was real. But the lack of control was also real. This created a shift in understanding. Before he could escape, he could move forward without fully facing the situation. But now, there was no way around it. This time, he could not escape, he had to face himself. Facing oneself is not easy. It means looking at reality without excuses. It means understanding what needs to change. It means accepting responsibility. This is the beginning of inner change. It does not happen quickly. It does not solve everything immediately. But it changes direction. Instead of avoiding the problem, the person begins to understand it. For Maradona, this stage was not about returning to the top. It was about awareness. Understanding what happened. Understanding why it happened. Understanding what needed to be different. This is the turning point that many people do not see. They see the success. They see the collapse. But they do not always see the moment of awareness in between. And that moment is where real change begins. The story of Diego Maradona is not only about football. It is about control, identity, and the real meaning of success. From the outside, his life looked extraordinary. He had talent, fame, and global recognition. But when we look deeper, we can see that success alone was not enough. The first lesson is simple but powerful. Talent is not enough. Talent can open doors, but it cannot keep them open. Without discipline and structure, even the greatest ability can become unstable. The second lesson is that success needs control. When life becomes bigger, more complex, and more demanding, control becomes even more important. Without it, pressure can grow and become difficult to manage. Another important lesson is that fame can destroy without awareness. Fame brings attention and opportunity, but it also brings stress and expectation. If a person does not understand this, it can slowly affect their decisions and their life. Finally, you must manage yourself, not just your skill. Success is not only about what you can do. It is also about how you live, how you think, and how you respond to pressure. Now, let's practice speaking together. Repeat after me. I control my choices. My talent needs discipline. I take responsibility for my life. Take your time. Speak slowly and clearly. You can pause and repeat to improve your confidence. Now, think about your own life. What is one habit in your life that you cannot control? Take a moment to reflect. If you feel comfortable, write your answer in the comments below. If this story helped you see success in a new way, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to continue learning English through powerful and meaningful stories.